Hey guys, my name is Brandon and welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see in here, you're more than welcome to hit the subscribe button so you stay notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get straight on with today's video. Hey everyone and welcome back to Is That More Brandon. So in today's video I'm going to be reviewing the second episode of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here 2024. So, at the beginning of the episode, we just heard snoring from Melvin. I think it was Oti that kind of woke up to the sound of him just snoring really loudly. Danny had a cold shower. GK was talking to Colleen about having the toilet, explaining that it was very Victorian and she wasn't able to sit down. She had to kind of just squat in the hole in order to, be able to go to the toilet. Barry, Melvin, Danny, and obviously shortly joined by Alan were having their kind of like men's gym session in the morning. So obviously Barry was kind of giving them all like a bit of a workout. And then GK basically said that she felt like Lara Croft, but just a little bit paler. So obviously this is when she went to her trial on her own. So yeah, this is obviously the volcano situation. So she basically said that yeah, she wasn't really looking forward to it, but she wanted to find out more. She had to climb up this volcano and she kind of was struggling a little bit, and she was like, well, I can't even climb up the volcano and I haven't even done the trial yet. But she did really well for someone who she hasn't really been on TV much. She's kind of just done more like social media and content and things like that. Like, you don't know how people are going to react when there's cameras around, or when they're trying to pretend that there are not cameras around, or in like trials and things with like real animals, insects. Like, you can't fake yourself on live television. Obviously I'm sure bits of it were cut out and edited in a certain way, but for these trials, you see these people as genuine humans. You forget about what they've done or who they are. Celebrity or not celebrity, it's a task, it's a trial. Some people have to actually face their fears. So yeah, when she went down the volcano, there were lizards in one of the holes, there were some snakes, there was a small hatch, and she basically had to kind of maneuver her way through these different little rooms. So some of the rooms she could stand up in, some of the rooms that she was able to have to kneel down on. There was one part of the room where she literally had spiders in there with her, and one of the spiders had like just sat on her helmet, but obviously she didn't know that. And there was a part where she ended up getting to like a little hatch. So she wasn't really sure what she was doing or where she was going, but she kind of was just motivating herself, just going, you know what, grow up, as if just telling herself, just get on with it, like, you got to do your best. Towards the end there was like a little water tank, so she did get into the tank, but she wasn't able to find the star under the water, so she did sabotage herself for that one. But she ended up coming out with 9 out of the 10 stars, so 10 campmates, 9 meals. That's actually not too bad. She did really well. And then again we found out that the third trial was going to be called the Sinister Sarcophagus, which again I think is something relating to being underground. Oti and Talisa were having a group chat about N-dubs, and obviously Talisa basically saying that N-dubs is like Northwest London, N-dubs, NW, and she's been in the band since she was 11, and she was kind of explaining how from 11 years old they were kind of writing their own music, they were in the studio getting inspirations and things, and for the first few years no success. And then as she was about to give up, it's actually when they broke through. So as she was about to give up on this album or song or whatever, that's when someone kind of picked it up, or that's when it went on the radio, and that's when they started bringing in views and money and the rest of it. So she went, actually, we've put a lot of hard work into it, and I'm finally glad it's paying off. Jane was obviously talking to Grace, Dean and Colleen about her royal journalism, saying that she met Princess Diana, Charles and the boys quite a lot when obviously she was younger. And obviously when they were on holiday, there were times where they were allowed to, pap, and there were times that they weren't. And I think at one point they basically said to Jane and some of the people that she was with that if they were to behave and, just give the privacy that, was needed, they would let Princess Diana and the other royals come out for like a little interview or like a little scheduled photo shoot or something like that. So yeah, giving a little bit of respect means you get a little bit of content, which was kind of what they wanted. And then the campmates are obviously draining the beans, and I think Talisa basically just said, you got to be careful when you're draining the beans because you don't want them to all fall out, and then literally 3 seconds later they all fell out. So yeah, they were draining the beans. She referred to it as #Beangate. You could see her, Dean, Jane, and I think somebody else kind of like picking the individual beans up. Obviously Dean had quite a lot of mud on the ones that he was picking up, and Talisa was like, no, you want to pick up just the beans, don't pick up the whole forest. Obviously putting it in the pot and then obviously like heating it to kind of like burn all the bits that were unhealthy or whatever. So, yeah, that was quite funny, but obviously at the same time with roll-on beans and rice, you kind of just want to save as much as you can. Jane said that they could have like some sort of jungle church. Alan said confess your sins. I think this is because obviously yeah, they obviously didn't have food or something like that, so they were kind of just like praying to, you know, get food. Danny was speaking about his daughter, who obviously had leukemia, so obviously it was quite difficult for him over the years to kind of, you know, deal with that and obviously understand her and what happened with that. And Talisa basically said to him that you're a man showing emotion, which is brave, because I think he got quite upset. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that as well, for those that, you know, have people or know people in their families that have had some sort of cancer or some sort of treatment or some sort of, you know, issue or disease that just kind of occurs and just appears out of nowhere. It is something difficult to face, whether the person themselves or their loved ones around them. Colleen also spoke to Dean and Oti, saying that she helped to obviously keep strong for her mum and dad when her sister Rosie was also hit with something, I think again either leukemia or cancer or something like that. And again, Dean basically said to her, look, sometimes you have to just let your emotions out. Like, yeah, you can hold them in for so long, but then if time goes and you get distracted, or if you're not thinking about anything and then all of a sudden you just get all these thoughts in your brain and you get really emotional, it's fine to have a little bit of a cry. Up next was Kev's Deals on Wheels. So Melvin and Oti, obviously they were the first losers. They lost the competition and they were the first ones to have to walk to the camp, but they were the ones to do the Meals on Wheels. So they went down to the Down Under Diner bar, and basically what they had to do in this bar, literally it was called the Down Under Bar or Down Under Diner bar, because when they walked, they obviously saw the menu, but when they walked into the kitchen, everything was upside down. So literally everything they needed to make the drinks, which would usually be on a table, was on the ceiling. So for them to make the drinks and the food, they had to open the things from the ceiling, and it was quite messy. So yeah, they had to make all these smoothies and this burger and whatever with all different sauces and sprinkles and things. They got 4 out of 4. And the question that the campmates had to answer, again, it was GK who ran to the phone. They had to answer the question of how many total followers combined do the campmates have on Instagram, TikTok, and obviously Twitter, which is now renamed as X. 10 million, 15 million, or 20 million. I think Colleen said she had about 3 million on Instagram. I think Grace had a couple of million. So yeah, they basically went for 15 million. It was correct. And yeah, they obviously won. Was it some sort of cake or something, or chips or cookies or something for camp? And then Oti was teaching Dean how to do twerking, so he wasn't really doing it right at the beginning, and then eventually she kind of was teaching him that you just need to, you know, bounce until you hit like the bottle. She was holding her bottle and I think he was bouncing up to the bottle, and she goes, yeah, you're doing it now. And then for dinner they had crocodile tail, and it was Danny and Melvin who decided that they wanted to, you know, have a go at cooking. Again, for the third trial, it was either GK, Barry, or Dean. Again, same two, but this time it wasn't GK, it was Dean. And again, he just said, what's a sarcophagus? With Oti basically replying, it doesn't matter, just kind of do whatever you need to do. So yeah, that's kind of how episode 2 ended, with Dean being able to do the third trial. Again, it's quite difficult to kind of get an understanding of the characters, because obviously it is still so early on and we've still got like a couple of weeks left, but I think Dean is very much a screamer, Grace is very much a screamer, and I think the rest of them are very just like on it, like they know what they're doing, they at least try. I'm not saying the other two don't try, I'm just saying compared to the others, they are the screamers as opposed to the thinkers. And also you've got to think Grace and Dean are probably 2 of the youngest ones that are in there, if not the youngest 2. So maybe they don't really know how to deal with this sort of situation, or, you know, how to face their fears, whereas the other 8 actually maybe have had experiences of dealing with stuff like this before. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but yeah, I think all 10 of them are really, really good. Like I said, Danny comes along really, really strong. Oti again, very kind of like motherly, very kind of, you know, open and talkative, and, you know, trying to help people out, similar to Jane really. Again, Alan's very talkative. Barry isn't really doing much, he's not really giving much. I think he brings a lot of, you know, interesting stories and, you know, kind of just dipping in and out of different conversations, but he's kind of not really actively doing much other than that first try, which he didn't really do very well in. Again, like I said, Dean's a bit of a screamer, Grace is a bit of a screamer. Talisa, again, comes across very strong. She's kind of like, you know, being that, again, motherly figure, putting herself in charge of the cooking, making sure people are happy, if people are crying, putting her arms around them. Melvin, bit like a comedy guy, so I guess he's trying to bring a bit of entertainment or a bit of laughter, similar to Danny really. And then again, Colleen, I think she just wants to clear the negativeness out of her name, so she wants to just show people who she genuinely is, and, you know, she is getting a lot of good reviews and good, you know, things said about her, whether it's on the news or, you know, in camp, where people don't expect her to be as nice as she is, and she actually is genuine, and she's just really open. And, you know, she is married to a footballer, like one of the best UK British footballers or whatever, but she is just a genuine normal person who, she didn't want to be famous, she didn't want to be in the news, but because of a situation that she was in, she now has to then clear and defend herself and her name and her family name. So yeah, that's how episode 2 ended. So if you did enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. If you are carrying on to watch the weekly review, then I'll be with you very shortly. And until my next video, thank you very much and goodbye.